And I was diagnosed with celiac disease 10, almost 11 years ago now. And I'm here to just tell you a little bit about my experience with it and kind of some lessons that I've learned over the past 10 years. Thank you. I'm a little taller than everybody else. All right, and also I'm a big social media fan, so I don't mind if you're on your phones during this as long as you're tweeting at me. So the hashtag is going to be 10 years, 10 lessons, and my Twitter is AntiWheatGirl. All right. So the first lesson, it will get better. So when I was first diagnosed, the first few years were really difficult, and having to pretend everything is fine and dandy because we all know that that's not reality. Celiac made me question every little thing, what I was going to eat that day, whether the food in front of me was going to be safe, whether someone was going to make fun of me for my lunch that day. And food was a major part of my life prior to diagnosis, and the adjustment to eating gluten-free was incredibly frustrating. And yes, I would forget sometimes in the beginning that I had celiac disease and eat something that I shouldn't, and yell and cry and scream, and all of that is hard. But I can tell you 10 years later that things are just a way of life now. And no, it isn't perfect, and I'm questioning every day, but I'm not questioning every day anymore, and the struggle isn't as bad as it used to be. So the important thing to remember when you're diagnosed is that this is a lifelong journey, and while the journey may not be easy, it does get better. And number 2, inform yourself. So to start, when you're first diagnosed, it's a really good idea to take time and research what you can eat. And I emphasize can because the gluten-free diet is so much about, the idea is so much about what we can't eat, but in reality there is so much that we can eat, and it's really important to focus on that. And second thing to inform yourself on is, my biggest question over the past 10 years was why? Why do I have to eat gluten-free? Why is this happening to me? And so on and so forth. And for me, answering that why question was, was very important for me to be able to accept this. So for me, it meant, taking a cellular biology class and learning on a very minute details what's happening in my body when I eat food, and what's happening, and why this has to be a long-term diet for me, and that it's not something that I can just take very lightly. So for me, it was taking that class, but for you, it might be something else. So informing yourself and answering that why question will make staying gluten-free easier and will give you greater satisfaction in the long run. 3, join a support group, go to camp, or get involved. So something that I didn't really expect when I was first diagnosed was the loneliness aspect of this. I know a lot of people don't realize how social we are when we're eating in this country and in this culture in particular. And being able to go out with friends and do those kind of things is something that everyone sort of takes for granted. But when that's taken away from you, there's definitely a kind of loneliness that comes from it. So joining a support group, going to camp, and getting involved in the celiac community makes a big difference. Yes, that's me at celiac camp. Kind of embarrassing. But one thing I especially learned from camp is something that one of the counselors said to me. And having this experience where you can be with kids who all have the same dietary restrictions as you, and being in an environment where the food is all safe for you to eat and not have to worry about every single thing that you're going to be planning your whole day. It's all planned for you. Having that environment takes you from being a celiac kid to a kid with celiac. And that distinction is incredibly important, because to be a celiac kid means to be the awkward, nerdy kid in the corner eating food that tastes like styrofoam. But to be the kid who has celiac means to be, you have your own interests, you have your own, life, but you just also happen to have a dietary restriction. So I think that is a very important distinction to make, and going to camp and support groups really taught me that. Number 4, educate, don't hate. So 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have had to include this, but the media has definitely in more recent years created somewhat of a negative perception about what it means to be gluten-free, and thinking it's a fad diet and we're all trying to lose weight, when in reality, we all know it's a medical condition. And I think that the most important thing that we can all do is engage in conversation when these kind of things come up, rather than letting the negativity get us down. If someone says, oh, you're just doing this to lose weight, engage with them, explain to them that it's a medical condition. And I think if each of us take the time to work with 1 or 2 people in our life who have these perceptions and change them, then slowly over time, we will change the whole world, and the perception around it will change. So educate and don't hate. All right. You might get knocked down, but pick yourself back up, and rely on your support system to help you get there. So there are going to be times when you can see what other people have, or you're going to want a sandwich, or it's going to be finals in college, and all you want is pizza, and everyone else is having pizza, and you can't have it, and it's going to be hard. And there might be days, weeks, months that you're feeling like this. But the important thing is to pick yourself back up and realize that this is part of my life, and it's going to be okay. So you can do that by working with your support of your family and your friends, but even if you don't feel that support from your immediate community around you, realize that the celiac community as a whole is here for you. I mean, if you just look around the room, the number of people here who either have celiac or have a relative with celiac it's huge. So you can rely on each other, you can rely on me, you can email me, I don't mind, or the support groups online and in person that you can lean on for support and pick yourself back up. Okay, I'm going to be blunt right now. This is my only hard and fast rule. There are no cheat days. And there's no, I want a little bread right now, because this is a special occasion, or, I'm just going to take this burger off the bun, it's no biggie. Yeah, it's a biggie. So if you're not only subjecting yourself to short-term symptoms, you're also putting yourself at risk for all those autoimmune conditions, all those talks earlier mentioned, and you're also hurting the community as a whole, not just yourself, because you can put the perception out there that there's a level of flexibility with our diet, when in reality there's not. This is a 100% lifelong gluten-free diet. There's no cheating, and I'm going to show you that staying gluten-free really does have positive long-term results. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. This was my brother 10 years ago, very small, very skinny. His pants look a little oversized. But this was him about 8 years later. But in the NFCA brochure on the right, this is him in real life. And then this is him now. He's going to stand up. This gluten-free diet is really, really All right, so this right here is proof to you that yes, the gluten-free diet is important, it works, it's our medicine. There is no, going around this, okay? Number 7, be your own advocate, and for the parents, empower your kids to be their own advocate. So I'm beyond blessed to have a family that's been incredibly supportive to me with this whole, dealing with this disease. But they were not overbearingly supportive, and I think that's an important thing to note. So my parents forced me to speak for myself and to let others know that celiac is reality in my life, and that I'm not going to compromise my health for anything. And yes, it sometimes meant talking to people I wasn't comfortable talking with, but it taught me how to handle myself in unfamiliar situations and focus on what's necessary for me to be healthy. So not coddling me was the best thing my parents could have done for me, and I truly grew as a person because of it. Become a top chef. Yes, these are things I have made. So this goes without saying, but when you cook for yourself, you know what's in it. So you don't have to worry about cross-contamination, and the more you practice cooking and baking, the better you'll get at doing it. So I may not be the best chef, but I definitely feel a lot of pride when I make something gluten-free that actually tastes good. So you can use recipes from cookbooks, blogs, anything, and become a good chef so that it'll be a lifelong skill for you, and you won't have to worry about cross-contamination. Number 9, share your story, just like I'm doing right now. So this is pretty straightforward, but you'll be surprised how many people out there have someone with a relative with celiac, or they themselves have celiac, and they appreciate when you make a point to say, like, hey, I'm gluten-free, or those kind of things, and stand up for yourself. And you might be able to help them along in their journey, which I have found in my personal experience. So it's not only just a great way to meet new people, it's also a great way to strengthen our community. So what I'm going to ask you all to do, for those of you who have social media, like I told you, I love social media, tweet today, anytime during the day, or post on Facebook with this hashtag and tag me in it, your story, because I want to share it with everyone, and I want to make this community stronger by realizing there's so many different stories, but that we're all part of the same overall general experience. So 10 years, 10 lessons. And my last, most important, I think is don't ever let celiac hold you back. Again, straightforward, but incredibly important. So having celiac made me very anxious and nervous a lot of the time when I was younger, and not letting it control my life was hard, but a very necessary thing that I had to do. I never let celiac decide where I was going to college. I never let celiac decide where I was going on vacation or whether I would hang out with my friends. And you know, there are some times when you won't be able to take all this in your stride and you will get down a little bit, but as a whole, you cannot let celiac control your life. You can't hide forever. You have to remember that you're a regular person who just happens to have celiac disease. My disease does not define me and yours does not define you. So live your life happily and healthfully and make the most of every day and every situation. Celiac is not a death sentence and it's not the end of the world. And once you live with this disease for a long time, you realize that that's just what you have to do. You have to live. Thank you. It's okay.
So she said we never forced her where to go and she decided to go wherever. That's very true. Celiac didn't define her. It's my pleasure to introduce our last speaker before our breakout sessions. Alice Best and I have known each other for many years. We met 2012. 2012 at
so much. No, okay. That was really good.